Really not anything new for us. Normal preseason preparation. We're a week out now, so practices are cut back considerably. Things have gone well. I don't know what other information to give you. I'd just rather answer your questions and get right to whatever you guys have. That way I won't miss out on anything.
Does it matter that it's unclear who Tulsa's starting quarterback's going to be?
Oh, I think if you knew exactly who it was and you had video of it and you could study and tendencies and such, but the guys that they're going to use, there's not really video of them that you would have as carryover, so not as much. You would prefer to have it, but in their situation, not really.
Did you catch a break at all, Mike, in not having to defend last year's offense? Not just
sure.
game, but all of the guys around.
Sure, they're really good. And I've said this. I know Coach from a distance, not real well, but I think that he's has been the driving force in the success that they've had down there. And when he took over and what he's done, obviously what he's brought to Tulsa. And when you watch them on tape, very good at what they do. And, they're in a little bit of a rollover year. But I would caution everybody, as I've done the defenses, that there's not been many rollover years in his history as calling plays or running an offense at other schools he was at. There would be a group leave, and they would think, okay, well, they'll settle down a little bit, and they would accumulate 5,000 yards the next year with some new guys.
You knew Dane pretty well, Dane Evans. Recruiting. I don't know about President and Skipper. They're both Texas kids. Did you know them a little bit through recruiting too?
Yeah, we evaluated Skipper and really liked him. President was he 2 years ahead of him? I can't remember. A year. And for whatever reason, with what we had, he's not a guy that we had evaluated very much. I don't know why. But Skipper's a guy we looked at and really liked him and thought he was going to be a good college player.
Is there a plan for how you'll use your backup running backs, or do you? Is it a situational thing? How do you expect to handle that?
The same as what we've done the last few years. Justice will get the majority of the work. If we feel like that he needs a break, we'll run a guy in. There could be times that we start a series with a younger guy, but my guess would be just if we think that he needs a break.
It's one of the few spots you had some questions who's going to start there with camp. You know who it is now. Are you anxious to see how they do in a real game, real live action against?
The fun part for us in games, for me personally, is during the season there's a lot of X's and O's that are involved on Sunday through Thursday, Wednesday really. And on game day, you get to see how it all works, if the plan worked. Well, it's the same thing with a new player. How are they going to play in a live situation? We try to prepare them for it as much as possible. It's still not the same, but it's fun to see how they're going to play. Now, sometimes you're not as excited about what they do as you'd want it to be, but that's the fun part of what we do. How is Roderis going to do? How's AJ going to do? How's Madre going to do? What's King going to do when he's running the ball? Don't know, but that's the fun part.
Would you rather them kind of ease into the situation instead of a team that's going to throw it a lot at them, or do you like to throw straight in the fire kind of deal?
I would prefer to not be thrown in the fire with them, but they're not going to have that option. I think Tulsa's going to run the football. I think they want to run the football. They're pretty good up front. They've got guys that can rush it, and based on their thought with new quarterbacks, they'll run the football and then take their shots downfield. So our guys have to understand that and be prepared to play. Regardless of the offensive scheme, they're going to gain valuable experience being in the game. Just being out there and in front of a packed stadium and distractions and so on and so forth, and got to find a way to get lined up and make a play.
What stands out to you about D'Angelo Brewer?
Athletic and skill, basically. It's interesting when you look at the recruiting strategy for what they're doing. It's predominantly Texas athletes who can play different positions and very athletic.
Talk about the number 2 quarterback.
Well, it's interesting. 14 would probably have an edge right now, but then in the last scrimmage, 11 played really good. So we have a light workout today, and then tomorrow is the sanctioned day off. And then I need to have that discussion with them about what their approach is going to be this week from a rep standpoint. Both of them have made really good strides in the last 10 days. More strides than they made in the first 20. Both of them. So Mike, I don't know if Mike probably has already discussed this, but I would say when I watch him, 14 would be the guy that would get the edge now. Yeah, I mean, that was just me looking at it. But 11 played really good lately, so neither one of them have any experience.
Mike, you've had a couple instances in the last few years, Marcel Latham last year, I think Corey Lemon a few years ago, where you lose a key guy before you can play a game. It seems like this year all your key guys are good to go. How much of a sort of exhale is that for you?
You always worry about that in the off season. I think we overtrain our athletes anyway, even to this day. We've cut back 40% on what we did even 5 years ago in the off season. It's for Coach Glass to cut back is really hard. He's old school, obviously one of the best in the country, but we've reduced so much in areas that we try to soften things on their body. But you always worry about that. And up to this point, we've been very fortunate that we've stayed healthy. We've practiced less, though, this camp than we ever have. The NCAA sanctioned the day off, but then we had an additional day off each week. Our guys got 2 days off every 7 days. So hopefully that helped us at that time. We'll find out here in the next few weeks.
Your cutting back, was that your decision, or was that NCAA? You said the 40% what you did 5 years ago. Is that what you guys decided, or was everybody going that way?
Well, that's just what we did. We've cut way back over the last 5 years, even in the summer, not just practice. Our contact in practice, we cut back probably 6-7 years ago. But off-season conditioning, change of directions, wear and tear on soft tissue and such with their bodies, we cut way back. The NCAA sanctioned the day off. That's the new rule that went into effect this year. Didn't really affect us much because we already did that anyway.
Mike, how impressed are you with Aaron Cochran? He's come into a new system, and you guys told him that he needed to lose all that weight, and he's done that. Now apparently he's won the left tackle job.
He's done everything we've asked him, and I'm always a little surprised when we can bring a player in 2 months. They can adjust to our culture. It's not easy to do, but he's dropped, I don't know, you could ask him, 30 or 40 pounds. And we knew once he got here he would, because he's in a different environment. Humidity is considerably different. And in our pace of offense, we knew he would drop that weight, but we were concerned that if he was heavy when we started, it would take him 10 to 12 days before he could ever catch up. So that helped him. And I'm excited about watching him play. He's a new guy. He's a fifth-year guy, but he's a new guy because he's never played for us. I think there'll be some adjustments there with him. Even though they played in a similar style of offense, they didn't move as fast as what we do. So it'll be interesting to see how he keeps up with our pace.
Coach Montgomery said yesterday he thinks this is probably your most talented team here at OSU. Just what's your reaction to that, and also him singing the praises of Mason?
I think we have a really good team. I said that earlier this year. I'll give you an illustration. I ride in the car a lot of times with teenagers because my boys are teenagers, and they argue over who's a better player, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. And they look at their phones and try to throw stats out, and then they ask me, and you can't compare something like that. They're both great players. I think this is a really good football team. I think they've been committed to each other. It's not coaches talk. You guys know that I'm beyond coaches talk now, but they've had a good off season. When we started camp around the 1st of August, I told them, we're not going to check bed check. If you guys don't want to be in bed by 9:30, then I don't care. That's your choice. I'm not checking your rooms every night. Well, we've always done bed check. Everybody's done it. It's just what you do. And I'm giving you an example of, I said, if you guys want to be out at night and not want to prepare and have enough respect for Tulsa in the first game, that's your choice. It's your team. Okay? Oklahoma State football, and we're going to be here forever, and it's a choice you make. You're the class of 2017. This is your team. So I would agree with what he said. We have a good team. Mason is a good player and has been very dedicated. He's been humble. He's excited. We need Mason to play in his world, not get out of his box, and he'll do just fine. But I said this earlier with Coach. I think he's one of the best coaches in the country, and I'm not just saying that. I think that regardless if we were playing him or not. I think he's sound in everything he does. If you watch what they do, how they play, they're lucky they have him as a coach. So I think that people in this state ought to be appreciative of what he accomplishes. But what he's saying is right.
Why did you not do bed check with this team?
They need to take care of themselves.
Is it because you got a bunch of seniors, a bunch of guys that play, you feel like they should?
We still have a lot of other ones, though. You have 105 guys on your roster preseason, and then once school starts, you can expand to 133. That number changes based on Title IX at each school, so on and so forth, but that's pretty close. And I've talked to you guys a lot about the culture that we've created here, and then at some point, I just thought we've always sent 3 to 4 coaches over to do bed check, and it's not, you don't have the old athletic dorm like we had years ago. They stopped that. So you got to go all over campus. They're spread out all over campus. We got guys doing bed check for an hour and 15 minutes, so I'm thinking, okay, from a business standpoint, if we were trying to produce a product and sell it, and we had an assembly line that worked at night, and I had 4 people that weren't in that assembly line, and they're out chasing bed checking people instead of making a product to sell, it's not a very good business decision. I'm wasting my time. 4 guys at 1 hour is 4 hours of work. So I just told the guys, we don't have time to check beds. So you need to be in bed at 9:30. That's your choice. They understand sleep, the research, the studies on all the different things that sleep. We have the sleep thing going on now. They have that in their beds. So we get all that information in the morning on our computers, who's sleeping, when they go to bed, whatever. I know this sounds bad. Yeah, somebody else could be in the bed, and it could still register. I haven't asked if 2 people would register. But truthfully, the truth is if they don't want to go to bed and do what they're supposed to do to get ready to play, then it'll eventually show up and they won't make it here. They won't fit our culture.
And part of it is you feel like these guys can handle that.
Mm-hmm. And part of it is that I've done this 28 years and I've been a head coach 13, and I'm tired of checking beds. I mean, I'm being honest. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm just being honest with you. They need to be responsible enough. It's kind of like your own kid. You have multiple kids. I have 3 of them. They're all different. I know which one I need to check, and the other 2 are okay, but I know which one I need to check. And that's kind of the way it is with these guys. But we have peer pressure is a big, big factor on our team. And so we ask the veteran players to coach the young players on and off the field, and we tell them, when we say that we don't have bed check, we need you to walk by the young guys that may want to go down here at night and say, listen, here's the deal. I wouldn't do it because you don't know what Coach Gundy's going to do. He may bring you in and talk to you. He may put you on the Stairmaster. He may just tell you need to go play somewhere else because you don't fit our culture. And I think that's going on right now. And it saves us a lot of wear and tear.
Something else you did, Mike, and you may have done it before, but you did it maybe more than you've ever done it. You put other voices at the end of practice in front of the team, analysts, strength coaches, young coaches. Did that accomplish what you wanted it to accomplish?
It allowed us to define and give a pure definition of what the culture is for our team. There's so many people in our organization now. Used to be a head coach, you had a strength coach, you had a director of ops, and you had the 9 assistants. Well, it's not that way anymore. And as I've said before, we have 133 players, and we have about 65 people that work with our team every day. They're with academics all the time, so they know all those people. But in our building, your video staff, your equipment staff, your strength staff they're around, but they don't know their details. All the different analysts that we have in our building, even young coaches that are paperwork guys that are trying to get in this profession, they're there all the time. So we have an organization where you have people walking by people all the time, and they don't know who they are. They don't know where they came from. I see people sometimes and wonder who they are. So I'm not doing a good job of getting to know everybody. What this allowed them to do is to tell their story. And you've heard some of them, and what I asked them to do was to say, my name is so-and-so, I'm 28 years old, I'm from Cambridge, Massachusetts, I went to this school, I played golf, I graduated in 7 years, and I went and got a master's, and I started coaching at this high school, and I went to this Division III, and I went here and went here and went here. And what it did is our players realized how hard it is to get to a certain point in the world, in this profession, and they were kind of shocked. And then there was also some coaches that were able to tell them that I came from a broken home. My parents might have abused alcohol or drugs. I understand, so they could relate to some of these coaches, and they're all great stories. But what it did is it brought us all together, and they realized that, hey, nobody's bulletproof, and everybody's got issues. And that's why we did it, and it worked out. It was really good. I would do it every year from this. I should have already done it.
Coach, what do you remember about that 2011 rain delay game?
Well, that was a terrible night for us. Obviously, with we lost Angela Spencer, but that was probably one of the most unusual game experiences I'd ever had, in the fact that when you get, or I should say, maybe y'all are different. Once you get over about 40, it's hard to stay up past 10 o'clock. And I don't know what time that game started, but I remember being on the sidelines and thinking, this is not going to look good if I am kind of dozing off. And I had to kind of like shake my head and stuff at times to stay awake. Plus, I'd burned all that mental exertion prior to the game, and then in the dugout, or not the dugout, in the locker room, and tired and so on and so forth. But that was a long, drawn-out process. I think they changed the rules since then, right? Can't restart a game after a certain time. Maybe, is it midnight or something? I can't remember what it is, but I think they changed. There's some new rule because of that game. We're kind of trendsetters on new rules.
Mike, you've talked in the past a lot about guys who love football and how important that is. Is Justice Hill one of those guys?
I think so. The good thing about Justice and James Washington and some of those other guys is they don't hardly say a word. They don't talk. James, I was in a locker room and somebody had cracked a joke or something, and I actually saw James kind of smile and acknowledge communication. And I asked him, I said, James, that's the first time I've actually seen you change your facial expression in 3 years. And he smiled again, and that was it. He still never said a word. Well, Hill's in that category. I never hear Justice talk either. But I think if you ask them, they're going to tell you that they love football, and if their examples, their actions provide examples for you, their leadership and their hard work and all those things.
Can you tell that it matters to him to be an Oklahoma State Cowboy because it was part of his
think
music?
he's proud. I was very impressed last year with his durability in the situation he was with his shoulder. And when I watch him play, I think that he shows us that he loves to be here at Oklahoma State. His team's important to him.
As far as progressions before week one, what similarities do you see between Justice last year and JD this year?
Good question. JD is a completely different athlete body-wise. JD is really developed. I think he's 209 pounds. Justice was like a $178 last year. Intelligent-wise, very similar. Ability to catch the ball, very similar. I would say that JD is considerably ahead of him in protection based on being 40 pounds bigger. Right to left, make people miss. Hill might have that advantage right now. Ability to run through tackles, maybe king. We'll see.
As far as picking up the schemes and the culture and everything here, what similarities do you see in that way?
He's done very well. If he was struggling in that area, we wouldn't play him. even though a young man has talent, it's not fair to put them out there unless they're ready physically and mentally. And you're talking about two very bright kids. They get it. Hill obviously comes from a great background over here at Booker T, and then King comes from a very tradition-rich area down there where they play big-time football, and that has helped them develop and give them a feel for what it takes to play at this level. We think. We know with Hill, but we'll find out with the other one.
With Hill picking up, the added muscle, and then what he did last year on the field, but then you like King, it sounds like. Are you more likely to keep his workload the same as last year or increase it? I'm talking Justice.
With
Justice,
Hill?
yeah.
Well, if you have 80 plays, you would have 55 passes. I'm just throwing numbers out. So 25 runs. I hope that math comes up to 80. If you give Hill 18 of them, you give the other guys 7, maybe another one 3, something like that, would be what I would think would be best for where we're at.
Did you have any scholarships to hand out to walk-ons this year?
We did. The new rules that are in effect that will start as we speak are very complicated. It's going to change the landscape of college football, in my opinion. And when we have some aid, we will be in a more lucrative position to pass that down to current members on our team. And we were able to do that just a few days ago. It's too confusing to explain, and you guys would probably know it better than me. The reason I'm saying that is because I don't understand it. But we were able to award Abbott and Corndog each a scholarship, which is a great thrill for us. Guys have been tremendous and been great workers and great representatives of our program. And so we're excited about what they bring, and it's always good to be able to give those guys some aid.
What's the attitude you need to have as a receiver on this team to be like part of a group that's so deep to want your turn, but also not have an ego at the same time?
You have to be unselfish, we talked about that down in Dallas a month ago, that there's a lot of guys, and if you're expecting to get 9 catches for 140 yards, it's not going to happen. There's just too many guys out there. Now, in the long term, for their history, for their future, it's awesome. But they're going to save wear and tear on their bodies, should help our team be able to keep these guys fresh. It's already surfaced in practice because their reps have been cut down 28%. Your James Washingtons and Lacey's and Aitmans and all those guys, they've gotten 28% less reps from August 1st to now than they did last year. Okay, and I know Aitman didn't play last year. His is 100% less, but the point is those guys, they've got 28% less work on their legs. Now, if we had a young man that was chasing statistics, we could have some issues because we're not going to have those statistics for those guys. There's not enough footballs to go around. Coach Dunn does a great job with them. They know up front. And in the end, most young men that come into our program have 2 things in mind. 1, to get a degree, and 2, they'd like to play this game and make a little money. Statistics means absolutely nothing to the NFL. They could care less. So that's the attitude that they have to have.
Coach, you signed Enoch out of Butler this year. I'm just curious, what do you see in Butler Community College and Guyer High School and DeSoto High School and North Shore? What do you see as connectors between all those places for you?
Are you talking about recruiting success?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Recruiting is still a people's business, even though it's changed considerably and it's getting ready to change even more so. In the end, it's no different than a guy that sells a product door to door or down in the community. If you go buy a car from somebody and they take good care of it and they service it and you can trust them, and if there's an issue and they fix it and they don't nickel and dime you to death, you're probably going to go back and buy another car from that guy. Recruiting's the same for us. And our coaches have had good relationships with those guys, and we take care of their players. when we bring them in, we take care of them. And that doesn't mean it's always going to be perfect. We might miss. They may not be good enough to go to the level they think they are, and or they may not fit the culture, but we've provided them with that opportunity. So as a coach at one of those schools, you can say, hey, got no problem with you going to Oklahoma State.
How much do you, just in general, not on the year you're playing them, just in general, pay attention to what Tulsa does, their program, and how they're doing and how they're doing things?
Every year. I've said this from day one, and we've been fortunate enough here in Oklahoma over the last 6 or 8 years that we've had the 3 schools be double digits in wins. I mean, how lucky are you to have 3 schools that play at that level, and they're all successful? You know, it drives the economy. It keeps people in a good mood. I pay a lot of attention to what they do over there. We want them to win every game other than when they play us. We want OU to win every game other than when they want to play us. That's my opinion. May not be favorable, but that's my opinion.
Speaking of OU, the Big 12 has never had a former coach on the playoff committee. Scoop said this week that he would consider it. Do you think it would help the Big 12 to have a former coach on the committee like the Big 10 and others have had? And then also, do you think Stoops would be good for that position?
Well, certainly it'd help. I mean, you know, human nature is to always be swayed. You know, that you build a committee of 18 people. How many's on the committee? Close. If you wouldn't have known that, I'd have said 18 and just ran with it. You got 13 people. Well, they have human nature that sways them one way or the other. They say they're not supposed to. I mean, I don't know that there's any committee. That's why when they pick a jury and trial, they make sure that they're not partial one way or the other. Stoops would be perfect for that. I mean, he'd be great for that. The guy's been around forever. You know, he's originally from up north. He's been in this part of the country. He sees it. He's pretty squared away and is level-headed. That's what it takes to me on that committee, in my opinion. And he's coached, and so he can go in there and give them good input because he can say, I know this is what you're seeing, but here's what it really is because I've lived this life. And he's done it recently. So he gets it.
College football has changed a lot in the last 10 years with the passing, especially in the Big 12 with the offenses. And in some cases on the committee, you had guys that are more old school. Do you think that somebody in there maybe understands a little bit more about the nature of the Big 12 and how difficult it is to play defense would help in terms of the reputation of the Big 12 in that room?
Well, I think everybody on the committee is awesome. Okay, first off. Just want to make that clear. I think they're all doing a great job. They're awesome, and they all deserve to be on there. Now, it would be really good for us to have a guy on there that's from our culture in this environment in the life we live because it is different. And regardless, it's no different than politics in Washington, D.C. There's a reason why the right wants the right and the left wants the left, so when they come time to vote, they'll vote for them. And so I think he'd be great for it.
Coach, Adrian Baker, he's not on the 2 deep. Did he come in just not as physically along as we were hoping?
He will play a little more than that, more in our packages, not just the 2 deep. I think he's going to get quite a bit better in the next month. He didn't play a year ago. And so his development's been a little slower than comparable to what the guys that we've brought in the past and or Aaron. But he has been in that environment. He's been around big-time football. He's been around practices and such. So I'm hoping that he'll develop more in the next month.
What are your expectations of using with Chuba Hubbard? Is he going to redshirt or is he?
I think we're going to play him. And I say that because sure enough, if I say we will and then we don't. But let's put it this way. He's staying up and practicing with the varsity. That's the best way I can put it. The guys that are up there full time, there's a chance they could be in the game. We have kept guys up there before and practiced them all year, and we held them back. So I don't know what they're going to do with him right now. But he is a good prospect and has made tremendous strides in the last 10 practices, which you would expect. Came from a whole different environment down here, and he gets better and better and better every day. and we like where he's at. Got a long ways to go, but when he breaks through and gets in the open, it's over. Gone. That's what I like about it. And he needs a lot of work. But from a body standpoint, the other day when I was watching him, it's probably not a fair comparison just based on the guy's success, but he plays and acts like during the game he's highly intelligent, like Joe Randall did. He kind of plays like Joe Randall did when he was a freshman. We've been very fortunate that we've had some young people come into our program that get the game really fast. I didn't think he would, coming from where he came from. I thought it would take him a long time to figure out that part of it, but he's done really well. So, and I haven't heard him talk a lot either, which is great. So, good. Good? All right, thanks.